Welcome to our deep dive.
Oh, it's going to be a good one.
Today we're going exploring this Spanish guide
Oh, wow.
called How to Create Good Projects.
Okay.
And it seems to be geared towards community organizations.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a feeling we'll uncover some universally applicable wisdom here.
Absolutely.
There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, even in the guide's introduction.
What really caught my eye, though, was this idea
Okay.
that even researching a project can be a project in itself.
Oh, interesting.
It's not just about gathering information.
Right.
It's about framing that research as a structured endeavor.
It's brilliant, really.
Yeah.
The guide highlights how that approach not only leads to a deeper understanding, but can also be a powerful way to secure funding.
For sure.
It flips the script on what we traditionally consider project-worthy.
Like we think, oh, this is a good idea, but how do we get the money to do it?
Right.
It's like saying, hey, we're serious about this.
Yeah.
We're not just jumping in.
Exactly.
We're investing the time and resources to truly understand the need
Yes.
and craft the best possible solution.
Exactly. And that level of commitment can be very attractive to potential funders.
Yes.
It shows you're not just looking for a quick fix,
Right.
but a sustainable and impactful solution. It's in it for the long haul.
Now, the guide really emphasizes knowing your organization inside and out.
Okay.
Its identity, its mission, and target audience.
Yeah.
Before even thinking about a project.
Okay.
But what's interesting is it doesn't stop there.
Right. It's not a one-and-done exercise.
Oh.
The guide stresses the importance of regularly revisiting these core aspects.
Oh, okay.
Adapting to change and ensuring everyone involved is still on the same page.
Okay.
Think of it as a living document, not a dusty file on the shelf.
I like that. A living document.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Communities evolve, priorities shift.
Yeah.
And an organization needs to be flexible enough
For sure.
to respond to those changes.
And it shouldn't just be a top-down decision.
Oh, interesting.
The guide suggests involving members in this process using methods like surveys, workshops, even brainstorming sessions.
Wow.
It's about tapping into the collective wisdom of the organization and ensuring everyone feels ownership.
I could see how that would create a much more dynamic and engaged organization where members feel like their voices are being heard.
For sure.
Now, when it comes to actually defining a good project, I'm curious to see what sets the bar in this guide.
Well, they don't just throw around the word good lightly.
Right.
The guide lays out 4 key criteria.
Okay.
Addressing real needs, avoiding duplication of existing efforts, having a strong central idea, and of course, securing the necessary resources.
Makes sense.
It's like a checklist for ensuring your project is built on solid ground.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get so caught up in our own ideas that we forget to zoom out and see the bigger picture.
Totally.
So the guide seems to be urging us to take a step back.
Right.
And really analyze the landscape before diving in.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Take that first criterion, addressing real needs.
Okay.
It's not enough to just have a good intention.
Right.
The project needs to be rooted in a deep understanding of the community you're serving.
Yeah, I can see how that could be tempting to skip.
Yeah.
Relying on assumptions or anecdotal evidence.
The guide is adamant about going beyond that.
Okay.
Talk to your members, your target audience, other stakeholders. Don't just assume you know what they need. Ask.
Ask.
Yeah.
And look at the data.
Yes.
Existing studies, reports, demographics.
Right.
There's a wealth of information out there.
Totally.
That can help paint a more complete picture.
It's about being thorough and evidence-based.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
They also caution against falling into the trap of boring approaches.
Oh.
It's not enough to address a need. You have to do it in a way that's engaging and inspiring.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen this happen so many times.
Yeah.
A project might be technically sound.
Right.
But it lacks that spark of creativity that truly resonates with people.
The guide pushes us to think outside the box and find innovative solutions that capture the imagination.
Yes.
That's where true impact lies.
Okay, so we've covered understanding your organization and defining a good project. Now let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
Those all-important resources.
Right.
I noticed the guide has a pretty unique categorization for them.
Yes, they break it down into 4 main types.
Okay.
community resources, shared resources, private resources, and of course the familiar public resources.
Right.
It's a framework that encourages us to look beyond traditional funding sources.
I'm really intrigued by community resources. What exactly does that entail?
So,
give me a real-world example.
Imagine you're starting a community theater group. Instead of renting an expensive space, perhaps a local church would offer their hall for rehearsals.
Oh, that's great.
Or maybe a retired set designer would be willing to donate their expertise and materials.
I love that.
It's about tapping into existing assets within the community, not always reaching for your wallet first.
I love that it's about resourcefulness.
Yeah.
And building those relationships within the community.
Totally.
It's not just about what you can afford.
Right.
It's about who you know
Yeah.
and how you can leverage existing assets.
Exactly. And that can be incredibly empowering for organizations that may not have a lot of financial resources to start with.
Yeah.
It levels the playing field and allows them to focus on their core mission.
Absolutely. What about shared resources?
Okay.
I'm curious to hear more about that.
Sure.
It sounds like collaboration is key.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Think of it as a resource swap meet for organizations.
Okay.
Let's say you're running a youth mentorship program. Maybe a local library would be willing to host workshops in exchange for your organization, helping with their summer reading program.
That's great.
It's a win-win.
I can see how that would not only be cost-effective, but also create a sense of community and shared purpose between organizations.
For sure.
It's about building bridges, not silos.
The guide is big on breaking down those silos. Private resources, on the other hand, are a bit more familiar. Businesses, corporations, foundations.
So we're talking about sponsorships, donations, grants, that sort of thing.
Exactly. It might involve offering some publicity or recognition in return for their support.
Right.
It's a more traditional approach, but still an important piece of the puzzle.
And then there's public resources, which I'm guessing refers to government funding at various levels.
You've got grant subsidies, public programs. Those are all valuable resources. But what's interesting is the guide doesn't just say, go for the grant. They really advocate for diversifying your funding sources.
So don't just rely on one stream of income.
Right.
Especially one that might be subject to political whims or economic downturns.
Exactly.
It's about spreading the risk.
Yeah.
And creating a more sustainable model.
Precisely. And here's the real kicker.
What's that?
They even suggest that securing funding itself can be framed as a project.
Wow.
It's about applying those same principles of planning, research, and execution to the fundraising process itself.
Yeah, that's a perspective I hadn't considered before.
Yeah.
It takes what can feel like a daunting task and turns it into a structured and achievable endeavor.
Totally.
And I bet it makes the whole process more transparent and accountable.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
And it can be incredibly effective in demonstrating to potential funders that you're serious about securing resources and using them wisely.
So we've talked about understanding your organization, defining a good project, and diversifying your resource streams.
Yeah.
What other gems does this guide have in store for us?
Oh, we're just getting started.
I'm ready to dive deeper.
Let's do it. Welcome back.
Back for more.
We've been exploring this insightful guide, How to Create Good Projects.
Yeah, it's been really interesting.
And before we jumped into resources, we touched on the importance of avoiding boring solutions.
Yes.
It really struck a chord with me.
It did with me too.
Like, I've definitely been in those situations where we went with the safe, predictable route, and the project just kind of fell flat.
Like it checks all the boxes.
Right. It might have checked all the boxes, but it lacked that certain something.
It just didn't have that spark.
Right. And it's so easy to get stuck in those ruts.
Yeah.
Especially when we're under pressure to just get things done.
Yeah, just get it out there.
Yeah. But this guide reminds us that true innovation comes from embracing creativity.
Yes.
Even if it means taking a risk or two.
And speaking of risks, that whole idea of turning research into a project, it feels risky in a way.
Yeah, it does.
But also incredibly smart.
It is.
It's like, let's lean into this potential obstacle and make it an asset.
Exactly. The guide acknowledges that not every organization has the capacity to do like in-depth research.
Right.
So instead of seeing it as a limitation, they turn it into an
I
opportunity.
get on its head.
They're like, don't have the answers, no problem. Create a project to find them.
That's so clever.
I love that.
I can see how that would be a game changer for a smaller organization.
For sure.
Not only do they gain valuable insights, But they're also showcasing their commitment to evidence-based decision-making.
And it can be a fantastic way to engage the community.
Oh, absolutely.
Imagine involving residents in surveys, interviews, focus groups.
You get them involved.
It builds ownership and buy-in from the very beginning.
From day one.
From day one.
And not to mention, that research project itself becomes a potential source of funding.
Right.
It's a brilliant way to demonstrate to funders.
Totally.
That you're serious about understanding the needs and crafting a targeted solution.
It's a win-win all around.
A win-win, for sure.
And that spirit of collaboration extends beyond research.
Oh, okay.
The guide really emphasizes tapping into the collective wisdom of your members and the community when generating project ideas.
It's so important.
Oh, it's crucial.
And I've always believed that. It's so easy for organizations to get stuck in a top-down approach.
Yes.
But the best ideas often come from the ground up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The guide even suggests holding a public consultation to identify priorities.
Oh, wow.
Think town hall meetings, online forums, suggestion boxes, anything that gives people a voice.
I love that.
Yeah.
It not only ensures that the project aligns with community needs, but it also creates a sense of ownership and excitement.
For sure.
It's not just a project being imposed from above.
Right.
It's something they've helped shape.
Right, and it doesn't stop there.
There's more.
They also suggest holding an ideas contest.
An ideas contest.
Pose a challenge related to a community need and invite everyone to submit their solutions.
Oh, I like that.
It's like a community-wide brainstorming session.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I bet it uncovers some truly innovative ideas that wouldn't have surfaced otherwise.
That might have just stayed hidden.
Yeah.
Speaking of sparking conversations, the guide has some interesting thoughts on using visual aids.
Oh, yeah.
During project development.
They're big proponents of using things like paper charts or flip charts to map out the project as a group.
Okay.
It's not just talking about it.
Right.
It's visualizing it, seeing those connections and dependencies.
Yeah, I can see how that would be so helpful.
Yeah.
Especially in those early brainstorming sessions.
Totally.
It helps everyone get on the same page, literally.
Literally.
And prevents those misunderstandings that can derail a project down the line.
But once you have a draft of the project plan, they encourage sharing it widely for feedback.
Oh, for sure.
Get input from members who aren't directly involved.
Yeah.
Fresh eyes can often spot things that those who are too close to the project might miss.
Totally. Sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees.
It's so true.
That's such good advice.
Yeah.
And it goes beyond just catching errors.
Right.
It's about ensuring the project truly aligns with the organization's values and goals.
Exactly. It's about building consensus and ensuring everyone feels like their voice has been heard.
Everyone has a stake in it.
And speaking of voices, the guide encourages organizations to think beyond their own walls and explore collaborations.
Collaboration is so powerful.
It is.
It's like multiplying your impact exponentially.
Totally.
But I think sometimes we underestimate the effort it takes to build those relationships and make them work.
You're absolutely right. It's not just about partnering with anyone.
Right.
It's about finding organizations that share your values and goals.
Right. It has to be the right fit.
The guide emphasizes that working with groups that have similar target audiences
can be especially effective.
That makes sense.
You're pooling resources, sharing expertise, and reaching a wider audience.
Yeah, you're combining forces.
It's a win-win all around.
Win-win.
They even offer some practical tips for building these networks.
Okay, I like practical tips.
One idea is to create what they call a listening network.
A listening network, what's that?
It's about identifying key individuals.
Okay.
Perhaps those working in government agencies or other organizations who can keep you informed about funding opportunities or other resources that align with your mission.
So it's like having a network of scouts.
Exactly.
Constantly scanning the horizon for potential opportunities.
They might not be directly involved in your projects.
Right.
But they can provide valuable insights and connections when you need them most.
That's brilliant.
It takes networking to a whole new level.
Yeah, it really does.
They also talk about building a support network.
A support network. I'm assuming this is more about engaging local businesses and community members.
Right, like more of that grassroots support.
It is. But they encourage organizations to think beyond those one-off donations or sponsorships.
Okay.
They advocate for developing long-term partnerships.
Oh, okay.
Where businesses provide ongoing support
Interesting.
in exchange for recognition and promotion.
It's a much more sustainable
Yeah.
and mutually beneficial approach.
Totally.
Instead of constantly going back to the well,
Right.
you're building relationships that benefit both parties.
Exactly. It's a win-win situation.
Win-win.
And speaking of wins,
Yes.
the guide is big on celebrating them,
Okay.
but also acknowledging the lessons learned along the way.
Right.
That's where their emphasis on continuous evaluation comes in.
You know, I've been part of so many projects
Yeah.
where evaluation was an afterthought,
Oh, yeah.
a necessary evil to appease the funders.
Right, just checking a box.
But this guy flips the script
It does.
and makes it an integral part of the process.
Yeah. They're adamant that evaluation shouldn't be just a final report.
Oh, interesting.
It should be woven into the fabric of the project.
Okay.
From beginning to end.
From day one.
From day one.
So it's about constantly gathering feedback, assessing progress,
Yeah.
making adjustments as needed.
Right.
Not just checking boxes,
Right.
but actually using that information to learn and grow.
Precisely. And it's not just about measuring success in terms of metrics or outcomes.
Oh.
It's also about reflecting on the process,
Yeah.
identifying what worked well, and acknowledging areas for improvement.
It's about embracing those mistakes as valuable learning opportunities.
Yes.
I think sometimes we're so afraid to admit we messed up
Totally.
that we miss out on those crucial insights
Right.
that could help us do better next time.
The guide encourages us to be honest and transparent in those evaluations.
For sure.
Yes, celebrate the wins, but don't shy away from the challenges.
Own them.
It's all part of the journey.
And speaking of journeys,
Yes.
there's one concept in this guide that I'm still turning over in my mind.
Oh, okay. What's that?
The project memory.
Oh, the project memory. It's such a brilliant idea.
I know. I love how they frame it.
Yeah.
Not just as documentation,
Right.
but as a way to capture the essence of the project.
Yeah, it's like a time capsule.
Yeah.
Preserving not only the outcomes, but the stories, the challenges, the lessons learned.
It's almost like creating a legacy for the project.
Totally.
Something that can inspire and guide future endeavors.
For sure.
And I could see how it would be incredibly valuable
Yeah.
for demonstrating impact to potential funders.
Absolutely. But it's more than just a marketing tool.
Okay.
It's a way to honor the hard work and dedication of everyone involved.
Right?
And it serves as a reminder that each project, even the smallest one, contributes to a larger narrative of positive change.
I love that.
Like, even those small efforts,
Yeah.
they all add up
They all add up to something bigger.
to something bigger.
You know, this entire guide feels like it's encouraging us
Mm.
to think bigger,
Yeah,
to see the interconnectedness of our efforts,
for sure.
and to approach projects with a sense of purpose and intention.
It's not just about getting things done.
Right.
It's about doing them in a way that creates lasting value
Yes.
for the organization and the community it serves.
So we've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
from brainstorming ideas and securing resources
Mhm.
to building networks and embracing evaluation.
That's right.
What's the final piece of wisdom this guide offers?
Yeah, this is a good word.
What's the thread that ties it all together? It feels like this whole guide is saying it's all about the people.
Yeah.
From engaging members and defining the organization's purpose
Mm.
to tapping into the collective wisdom of the community.
Right.
It feels like that human element is front and center.
You're spot on. It's not just about processes and checklists. It's
Mhm.
about recognizing that projects are ultimately driven by people.
Yes.
And when you empower those people,
Mm.
give them a voice and foster a sense of shared ownership, that's when the magic happens.
That's when things really start to click.
Exactly.
I'm also really struck by the guide's emphasis on turning challenges into opportunities.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Instead of getting bogged down by a lack of research.
Right.
You frame it as a research project.
Yeah, just reframe it.
It's brilliant.
It is.
It turns a potential obstacle into a stepping stone.
For me, that's one of the most powerful takeaways.
Yeah.
It's a mindset shift.
Totally.
Instead of seeing limitations, we're encouraged to look for possibilities.
Yeah. Always looking for that open door.
It's like they're saying, don't just solve the problem.
Yes.
Use the problem-solving process itself to build capacity and momentum.
It's so empowering.
It is.
Especially for organizations that might be starting with limited resources.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that creativity and strategic thinking can be just as valuable as funding.
Couldn't agree more.
Sometimes even more valuable.
Sometimes even more valuable, for sure.
And that message resonates far beyond community projects.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it anytime we're facing a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's personal or professional.
Right.
We can choose to see it as a roadblock.
Yeah.
Or as an opportunity to learn, grow, and innovate.
So true.
Yeah, like which lens are we looking through?
Exactly.
It all comes down to adopting that solution-oriented mindset.
Totally.
Don't get stuck in the this is how it's always been done mentality.
Oh, I hate that.
It can be so stifling.
It really can.
Be open to new ideas, even if they seem a little unconventional at first.
Right. Sometimes the craziest ideas are the ones that end up working.
Yeah, or spark something else.
Or spark something else, exactly.
That willingness to experiment, to take risks, to think outside the box. That's where the real breakthroughs happen.
That's where the magic is.
And who knows, maybe that crazy idea that everyone dismissed turns out to be the key to unlocking a whole new level of success.
You never know.
That's what I love about exploring resources like this guide. It challenges our assumptions, opens up new ways of thinking.
So I'm curious, what's resonating with you, our listener?
Yeah, what's one piece of advice from this deep dive that you're going to take away and apply to your own projects or goals?
It's a great question to ponder.
It is.
You know, because while this guide is written for community organizations, its principles are incredibly versatile.
They really are.
Take the emphasis on teamwork, for instance.
Such a good point.
It doesn't matter what kind of project you're working on.
Right.
Whether it's launching a business, writing a book, even just tackling a home renovation.
Yeah, anything.
Involving others, getting diverse perspectives, and building that sense of shared ownership.
It makes such a difference.
It make all the difference.
And that focus on transparency and ethical practices.
Oh, that's huge.
That's universal, too.
It is.
Building trust and accountability should be a priority in any endeavor.
Absolutely.
Whether you're dealing with clients,
Yeah.
colleagues,
Yeah.
or even just family and friends.
Yeah, your personal life, too.
For sure.
I think the project memory concept is also incredibly valuable.
Yes.
Beyond just community initiatives.
Right.
Documenting your process, capturing those lessons learned, and celebrating those successes along the way.
For sure.
It can help you build momentum and inspire future efforts.
Yeah, it's almost like you're creating a roadmap for yourself.
Exactly.
A reminder of what you're capable of achieving.
Yeah, and it can be incredibly motivating to look back.
Yes!
And see how far you've come.
And see all those wins.
So often we get caught up in the day-to-day grind.
I know.
That we forget to pause and acknowledge our accomplishments.
It's true. We don't always take that time.
Taking that time to reflect is essential.
It is.
Not just for celebrating wins, but for identifying areas where we can improve and grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So to our listener,
Yeah.
we encourage you to think about how you can apply these principles to your own life and work.
Your own project.
Whether you're embarking on a grand adventure or simply tackling a small project.
Right. Size doesn't matter.
These insights can help you achieve greater success.